1. All right, buckle up car fans, because we're not done with this stunning 1971 Cadillac Calais just yet. Let's dive deeper into what makes this classic ride so special. First off, let's talk about the era this beauty comes from. The early 70s were a golden age for American luxury cars, and Cadillac was at the top of its game. The Calais might have been considered the entry-level Cadillac, but don't let that fool you. It was still packed with style and sophistication that could rival any top-tier luxury car of its day. Now onto the specifics of this particular Caddy. That 8-cylinder engine? It's likely the 472 cubic inch, 7.7-liter V8 that was standard in the 71 Calais. This powerhouse was known for its smooth operation and impressive torque, perfect for effortless cruising. And with that new tune-up, starter, and distributor, you can bet this engine is purring like a kitten. Let's talk about that body for a second. The 71 Calais had those iconic sharp angular lines that defined the era. It's a car that commands attention, and with that fresh yellow paint job, you'll be turning heads wherever you go. And at 29,500 miles, that's practically nothing for these old tanks. These cars were built to last, and this low mileage means you're getting a piece of history that's barely been used. Inside, you're wrapped in luxury. That peanut butter leather interior isn't just comfortable, it's a time capsule. Sitting in there, you can almost hear Carole King or The Doors playing on the radio. And with the interior condition rated at 910, you're getting a nearly pristine example of 70s automotive opulence. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the price. $13,000 might seem steep at first glance, but when you consider the condition, the mileage, and all the work that's been done, it starts to look like a bargain. You're not just buying a car here, you're investing in a piece of automotive history. But here's the kicker. The seller says they need it gone ASAP. That's music to a buyer's ears. There might be some wiggle room on that price, but don't lowball too hard. Remember, good examples of these cars are getting harder to find, especially with this kind of mileage and in this condition. So what are you getting for your money? A meticulously maintained classic Cadillac with new brakes, shocks, springs, exhaust, and more. You're getting a car that's ready to cruise right off the lot. No need to worry about immediate repairs or restoration. This is a turnkey classic, folks. In the end, this 1971 Cadillac Calais isn't just a car, it's a rolling piece of Americana. It's a chance to own a slice of the American dream, circa 1971. Whether you're a dedicated collector or just someone who appreciates the finer things in automotive history, this Caddy deserves a good look. Remember, they don't make them like this anymore. So if you've been dreaming of cruising down the boulevard in classic American style, this might just be your golden ticket. Don't let this yellow beauty slip away. It could be the start of your own classic car love story. 2. We're taking a look at a real blast from the past, a 1975 Chevrolet Monza that's up for grabs at just $4,000. Now, before you start imagining a pristine showroom piece, let's keep it real. This isn't a perfect car, but it's got some serious potential for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about what we're dealing with here. This little Monza is rocking a V8 engine, which is pretty cool for a compact car from the 70s. It's got an automatic transmission, so you won't be wrestling with a stick shift in traffic. The odometer shows a mere 10,467 miles, but given the age of the car, we might want to take that with a grain of salt. It's likely rolled over at least once. Now, the seller's been upfront about a few things that'll make your ears perk up. They put some work into this baby. We're talking newly reupholstered front seats and fresh floor carpet. That's a nice touch that'll make cruising in this classic a bit more comfortable. One big plus? It's smog exempt. That's music to the ears of anyone in a state with strict emissions laws. You won't have to worry about failing those pesky smog checks with this little gem. The seller describes it as a fun little classic, and I gotta say, I can see the appeal. These Monzas have a quirky charm that's hard to resist. It's not going to win any beauty contests or drag races, but it's got character in spades. Now, let's be real for a second. This is a 48-year-old car that's selling for $4,000. It runs and drives, which is great, but don't expect it to be perfect. There's bound to be some quirks and maybe a few issues that need addressing. But hey, that's part of the fun of owning a classic, right? The clean title is definitely a plus. No salvage or rebuild nightmares to deal with here. But remember, clean doesn't mean problem-free. You'll want to give this Monza a thorough once-over before handing over your hard-earned cash. So who's this car for? Well, if you're looking for a fun project that you can actually drive while you work on it, this could be your ticket. It's got a V8, which means there's potential for some performance upgrades if that's your thing. Or maybe you're just looking for a unique daily driver that'll turn heads at the local car meet. At $4,000, it's not the cheapest car out there, but it's also not bank-breaking for a classic. Just remember, old cars like this often have hidden costs, so budget for some repairs and maintenance. In the end, this 1975 Chevy Monza is a quirky little piece of automotive history. It's not perfect, it's not pristine, but it's got potential and personality in spades. If you're willing to put in a little TLC, this could be the start of a beautiful friendship between you and a classic American compact. Just make sure you go in with your eyes open and your expectations realistic, and you might just drive away with a fun little slice of the 70s. 3. We're diving into a real gem, a 1981 Chevrolet Caprice that's currently up for grabs at $6,000. Now let me tell you, this isn't just any old Caprice. This baby's got some serious bragging rights. First off, we're talking about a one-owner vehicle here, folks. That's right. This Caprice has been with the same owner since it rolled off the lot back in '81. That kind of long-term care often translates to a well-maintained ride, and from what the seller's saying, that seems to be the case here. Now let's talk numbers. The odometer's sitting at 136,626 miles, which for a nearly 40-year-old car isn't too shabby at all. These old Caprices were built like tanks, so with proper care, they can keep on cruising well past the 200K mark. The seller describes this Caprice as clean inside and out, and they've labeled the condition as excellent. That's a bold claim for a car of this vintage, but if it's true, we might be looking at a real-time capsule here. The interior condition can tell you a lot about how a car's been treated, so a clean cabin is definitely a good sign. One of the most important things about any classic car is how it runs, and the seller's got some good news on that front too. They say it fires right up every time. That's music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. It suggests that the engine's in good shape and the car's been started regularly, which is crucial for keeping these old beauties in running order. Now, I always like to keep it real with you folks. While the seller's description paints a pretty rosy picture, remember that this is still a 40-year-old car. Even in excellent condition, it's likely to have some quirks and may need some TLC here and there. That's just part of the classic car experience. At $6,000, it's not the cheapest Caprice you'll find out there, but if it's truly in excellent condition, it could be a fair price. These old full-size Chevys have a dedicated following, and clean, well-maintained examples are getting harder to find. So who's this car for? Well, if you're looking for a classic cruiser that you can enjoy right away without a ton of immediate work, this could be your ticket. The Caprice is perfect for lazy Sunday drives, car shows, or even as a unique daily driver if you're feeling brave. In the end, the seller says, the car sells itself, and if it's as good as described, that might just be true. A one-owner, clean 1981 Caprice in excellent condition? That's the kind of find that gets us classic car enthusiasts excited. Just remember to give it a thorough inspection before you buy, and maybe budget for some preventative maintenance to keep this beauty running smooth for years to come. So, if you've been dreaming of cruising in 80s style and comfort, this Caprice might just be your chance to live that dream. It's a slice of automotive Americana that's ready for its next caretaker. Will it be you? 4. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into a true gem from the 80s, a 1983 Cadillac Eldorado that's currently up for grabs at $9,800. And let me tell you, this isn't your average old caddy. First off, let's talk about that mileage, a jaw-dropping 32,692 miles. The seller swears it hasn't rolled over, and if that's true, we're looking at a seriously low-mileage beauty here. This Eldorado has barely broken in its 4100 V8 engine. Now, Feast your eyes on that color combo. We're talking a rust or brownish red exterior paired with a tan brown coordinated roof and leather interior. It's like a rolling autumn landscape, folks. And get this, it's rocking a cabriolet hardtop roof, giving it that sleek convertible look without the hassle of a soft top. The seller's not shy about singing this caddy's praises, describing the body as being in excellent condition with no dents or tears. They're also boasting about a spacious, excellent-looking interior and a clean engine bay. That's the trifecta of classic car goodness right there. Let's talk features because this Eldorado is loaded. Power everything: steering, brakes, windows, and door locks. It's got climate control for those hot summer cruises, a rear defroster for chilly mornings, and even a touring suspension package for a smooth ride. Plus, those radial tires are said to be in great shape, wrapped around some fancy factory upgraded wire wheels. But wait, there's more. The seller's throwing in 4 factory wheels with color-coordinated wheel covers and a custom-fitted fabric car cover. Talk about the full package. Now, I always keep it real with you folks, so let's address the bad. The cassette player doesn't seem to work and the power antenna is stuck down. But hey, in the grand scheme of things, these are minor issues for a car that's pushing 40 years old. At $9,800, it's not the cheapest Eldorado out there, but if everything checks out, it could be a fair price for such a low-mileage, well-preserved example. These old luxury coupes are starting to gain appreciation among collectors, so it might even be a smart investment. Just remember, folks, the seller's firm on their terms. Cash only, no trades, no payments, and they want phone calls, not texts. They're old school, just like this beautiful caddy. So, who's this car for? If you're looking for a plush, stylish cruiser that'll turn heads at car shows and make you feel like $1 million on your Sunday drives, this could be your ticket to 80s luxury heaven. Just make sure you give it a thorough inspection before handing over that cash. In the end, this 1983 Cadillac Eldorado is a stunning example of American luxury from a bygone era. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. So if you've been dreaming of gliding down the boulevard in ultimate 80s style, this low-mileage beauty might just be your golden ticket. 5. We're diving into a real piece of American muscle car history, a 1978 Pontiac Firebird that's up for grabs at $8,000. Now, let me tell you, this isn't just any old Firebird. This bird's got some stories to tell. First off, we're looking at a car that's been sleeping for quite a while. The seller says this beauty has been in storage for at least 35 years. That's like waking up a time capsule, folks. But don't worry, they've done the legwork to get it road-ready again, including cleaning out the fuel tank and lines. That's crucial work for a car that's been sitting this long. Now let's talk power. This Firebird's sporting a new 350 engine. That's right, a fresh heart for this classic bird. Paired with an automatic transmission, you're looking at a smooth cruising muscle car that's ready to hit the streets. And with 190,500 original miles on the odometer, it's got some life experience, but still plenty of road ahead. The seller's been honest about the condition, describing it as good rather than excellent or like new. That's the kind of straight talk we appreciate. They admit it's not perfect, but a good driver, which is exactly what many classic car enthusiasts are looking for. Something you can actually drive and enjoy without worrying about every little scratch. One of the standout features has to be those newer weld wheels wrapped in BFG radial TAs. That's a classic muscle car look that never goes out of style. And the interior. It's said to be in good shape, which is always a plus for a car of this vintage. Now, I've got to mention that brown paint color. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a classic 70s hue that really takes you back to the era. Pair that with the Firebird's iconic shape, and you've got a head-turner for sure. At $8,000, it's not the cheapest Firebird out there, but it's also not in the stratosphere like some pristine examples. You're getting a car with a new engine, good bones, and a history that includes a long slumber followed by a careful awakening. So who's this car for? Well, if you're looking for a classic muscle car that you can actually drive and enjoy right away, this could be your ticket. It's perfect for cruising to car shows, taking on weekend drives, or even as a unique daily driver if you're feeling adventurous. Remember folks, this is a 45-year-old car. It's going to have some quirks and probably need some TLC here and there. But that's part of the charm of owning a classic, right? In the end, this 1978 Pontiac Firebird is a cool piece of automotive history that's ready for its next chapter. It's not a showroom-perfect trailer queen, but a real, drivable classic with character. If you've been dreaming of owning a piece of the muscle car era without breaking the bank, this brown beauty might just be the bird you've been waiting for. 6. All right, classic car enthusiasts and Craigslist treasure hunters, buckle up because we're diving into a real piece of automotive history today. A 1972 Buick Riviera that's up for grabs at $4,150. Now let me tell you, this isn't your average classic car find. This is a boat-tail Riviera, one of the most distinctive designs to ever grace American roads. First things first, let's be real here. This Riviera's seen better days. The seller's honest about its condition, listing it as fair, and they're not kidding. This beauty's been catching some Z's for over 20 years, so it's got the issues you'd expect from a long-dormant classic. But here's the kicker. Despite its long nap, this old girl still has some life in her. The seller managed to wake her up with some fresh oil, a new filter, and a bit of gas can magic. She starts, runs, moves, and stops. That's more than you can say for a lot of cars that have been sitting this long. Now, let's talk about that odometer. 80 to 8,500 miles. Not too shabby for a 51-year-old car, right? But remember, folks, with classics like these, mileage is often more of a suggestion than a fact. One of the coolest things about this Riv is that most of the electronics still work. Power windows, power seats, even the radio cassette player. They're all ready to party like it's 1972. The fuel gauge and clock are taking a siesta, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This Riviera needs work. There's damage on the driver's door, obvious rust, check out those pictures, and the windshield's got some battle scars. The seller's clear that this isn't a driver, so don't expect to cruise home in your new ride. But here's the thing. Boat-tail Rivieras are getting harder to find, especially complete, original examples like this one. Sure, it needs a lot of TLC, but for the right enthusiast, this could be the start of an amazing restoration project. At $4,150, it's priced in the ballpark for its condition. The seller's done their homework, comparing prices on Hemmings, ClassicCar.com, and Riviera enthusiast groups. They're open to reasonable offers, which is always good to hear. So who's this car for? Well, if you're looking for a challenging but rewarding restoration project, and you've got a soft spot for one of the most daring designs of the 70s, this could be your ticket. It's not for the faint of heart or the thin of wallet, but for the right person. This Riviera could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Remember, folks, this is a cash-only, you-haul-it-yourself kind of deal. No tire kickers, no scammers, and the seller doesn't need any help moving it along. In the end, this 1972 Buick Riviera is a diamond in the rough. Emphasis on the rough. But with some love, care, and probably a fair bit of cash, it could shine again. If you've been dreaming of cruising in 70s style, and you're not afraid of a challenge, this boat-tail beauty might just be calling your name. 7. We're diving into a real gem that you don't see every day. A 1962 Oldsmobile F85 Cutlass. And let me tell you, this isn't your run-of-the-mill classic. We're talking about a seriously rare bird here, folks. First off, let's address the elephant in the room, the $12,000 price tag. Now, before you start clutching your pearls, remember that we're dealing with a piece of automotive history here. This Cutlass is 61 years old and still looking pretty darn good for its age. The seller's being straight with us about the condition. They admit it's not perfect. Hey, what 61-year-old is, but they're calling it great shape for its age. The odometer shows 8,456 miles, but let's be real. This baby's probably been around the block a few times more than that. Now let's talk about what's under the hood. We're looking at an all-aluminum 215 CI V8 engine, a pretty cool piece of engineering for its time. And get this, it's had a complete rebuild about 10,000 miles ago. That's music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. They've even upgraded to an Edelbrock carburetor, which should help this old girl breathe a bit better. Inside, we're talking clean and original. And check this out. It's got the upgraded center console with split bench seats. That's a nice touch that adds a bit of sportiness to this classic cruiser. On the outside, it's looking pretty sharp in its original blue paint. Sure, there's some clear coat fading and flaking here and there, but the seller says it's rust-free. In the classic car world, that's like striking gold. Now, I always like to keep it real with you folks. This Cutlass isn't perfect. It's got some wear and tear, as you'd expect from a car of this vintage. But here's the thing. It's rare, it's cool, and it's in surprisingly good shape for its age. At $12,000, or best offer, it's not the cheapest classic out there. But remember, you're not just buying a car here. You're buying a piece of automotive history. These F85 Cutlasses don't come up for sale very often, especially in this condition. So, who's this car for? Well, if you're looking for a unique classic that'll turn heads at car shows and cruise nights, this could be your ticket. It's perfect for the collector who wants something a little different, or for the Oldsmobile enthusiast looking to add a rare bird to their flock. Just remember, folks, old cars like this often need some TLC. Budget for some maintenance and maybe a few upgrades if you want to make this Cutlass really shine. In the end, this 1962 Oldsmobile F85 Cutlass is a cool slice of American automotive history. It's not perfect, but it's got character, charm, and rarity on its side. If you've been dreaming of cruising in 60s style and want something that'll stand out from the sea of Mustangs and Camaros, this Olds might just be calling your name. 8. All right, let's dive deeper into this 1975 Chevrolet Camaro that's currently listed on Craigslist for $12,500. I've got to be upfront with you. This car is a project, but it's one with incredible potential. The seller is honest about the exterior needing a repaint, but don't let that deter you from what's essentially a performance powerhouse waiting to be unleashed. This Camaro has undergone some serious upgrades that any true car enthusiast would appreciate. At its heart is a Blueprint Engine's 436 HP 383. That's a significant boost in power from the original specs. The drivetrain has been beefed up too, with a locally built 700R4 transmission and a 1991 GTA limited slip differential, providing improved performance and handling. Speaking of handling, this Camaro has been set up for Auto X with a custom suspension, making it a potential beast on the track. The braking system has been completely overhauled with a C5 four-wheel disc brake conversion, ensuring you've got the stopping power to match the go. What's particularly impressive is the condition of the less visible parts. The engine compartment, trunk, interior, and underbody are all reported to be in very good to excellent condition. This suggests that while the exterior might need some work, the bones of this car are solid. The Camaro's history is also a point in its favor. It's an original California car, which typically means less exposure to harsh weather conditions. The seller mentions it was rust-free when purchased in 2006 and has spent much of its life garaged. The odometer shows 37,198 miles, though it has rolled over, so the true mileage is unclear. One of the most intriguing aspects is its weight. At approximately 3,300 LEBs, it's remarkably light for a car of this era. Combined with the upgraded engine, this weight reduction could translate to impressive performance. The seller states they've invested over $25,000 in upgrades, which makes the asking price of $12,500 seem quite reasonable. Of course, you'll need to factor in the cost of a quality paint job to truly bring this Camaro back to its full glory. In essence, this 1975 Camaro represents a unique opportunity. It's not a turnkey show car, but rather a well-prepared canvas for the right enthusiast to complete. Whether you're looking for a father-son project or your next performance build, this Camaro offers a solid foundation with high-quality upgrades already in place. It's a chance to own a piece of American muscle car history, updated with modern performance capabilities. Just remember, a project like this requires commitment, but the end result could be truly spectacular. 9. We're checking out a 1970 Ford Falcon Futura that's currently up for grabs at $9,500. This classic American coupe is definitely worth a look for anyone into vintage Fords or just looking for a cool daily driver with some character. Let's be straight here. This Falcon's got some miles on the clock. The odometer shows 172,000, but it's rolled over. So we're talking about a well-traveled bird. But don't let that scare you off. The seller says it runs and drives great, which is always music to a gearhead's ears. Under the hood, you've got a 302 cubic inch V8 engine. It's not the most powerful motor Ford ever made, but it's reliable, and parts are easy to come by. The seller mentions it holds good oil pressure, which is a positive sign for the engine's health. Now let's talk about the body and interior. The paint job is 12 years old and showing its age. That's just honesty right there. The bumpers are original, and some of the chrome has seen better days with flaking. Inside, you're looking at a mostly new interior, which is a big plus. Only the dash pad and kick panels are original. The sellers put some work into this Falcon recently. There's a new aluminum radiator, new heater core, and blower motor. All good news for comfort and reliability. The suspension has had some attention too, with new shocks and front-end work making everything nice and tight. Is this Falcon perfect? Nope, and the seller isn't trying to hide that fact. But it sounds like a solid driver that could be a great starting point for a restoration project or just a fun weekend cruiser. At $9,500, you're getting a piece of Ford history that's ready to roll. Remember, with any classic car, especially one with high mileage, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection before pulling the trigger. But if everything checks out, this could be a cool addition to your garage. It's got potential written all over it for the right enthusiast willing to show it some love. 10. All right, Craigslist car enthusiasts, let's talk about this 1971 Chevrolet Monte Carlo that's currently up for grabs at $14,800. This isn't just any old Monte Carlo. This one's a real gem that's been given some serious love and attention. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. That stunning blazing copper paint job. It's not a color you see every day, and it really makes this Monte Carlo stand out from the crowd. It's the kind of color that'll turn heads at car shows and cruise nights. Now, the seller claims this beauty is in excellent condition, and from the description, it's hard to argue. They've put a lot of work into this car, and it shows. The original 350 V8 engine and 2-speed Powerglide transmission have both been rebuilt, which is a big deal for originality buffs and should make for a smooth, reliable ride. But that's just the start. The list of new parts is impressive. New tires, brakes, shocks, bumpers, rooftop, interior, windshield, underhood pad, radiator, fuel pump, alternator, plugs, wires, and distributor. That's a lot of fresh components, folks. It sounds like this Monte Carlo has been restored from top to bottom. With only 60,600 miles on the odometer, this car has relatively low mileage for its age. Combine that with all the new parts and rebuilds, and you've got a classic that's ready to hit the road without worry. The 71 Monte Carlo is a desirable model year, known for its sleek styling and comfortable ride. It's a perfect blend of muscle car looks with luxury car comfort. This particular example, with its extensive work and eye-catching color, seems to be a cut above the average Monte Carlo you might find. At $14,800, it's not the cheapest classic out there, but considering the amount of work that's gone into it and its excellent condition, it could be a fair price for the right buyer. If you're in the market for a turnkey classic that you can drive and enjoy immediately, this Monte Carlo deserves a serious look. Remember, with any classic car purchase, it's always a good idea to see it in person and maybe even get a professional inspection. But from what we can see here, this 1971 Monte Carlo looks like a beauty that's ready to cruise in style. It's the kind of car that could be the pride of your collection, or a fantastic daily driver for those sunny weekend drives. 11. Let's talk about this 1964 Chevrolet Impala that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $14,000. This isn't just any old Impala. We're looking at a piece of automotive history that's managed to keep its original charm intact for nearly 6 decades. First things first, this is a 4-door model, which might not be everyone's cup of tea if you're after the sportier 2-door look. But don't let that deter you. Four-door classics have their own unique appeal and are often more practical for cruising with friends and family. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. The seller claims this Impala has only 94,000 original miles on the clock. That's impressively low for a car of this vintage, averaging just about 1,600 miles per year. It suggests this car hasn't been driven hard and put away wet, as they say. One of the most intriguing aspects of this Impala is its originality. The seller states it's all original and very complete, which is music to the ears of many collectors. We're talking factory paint, original panels, and presumably the original V8 engine and automatic transmission. This level of originality can be hard to come by these days. However, let's be real here. No 57-year-old car is perfect. The seller mentions minor rust, which is something you'll want to check out in person. Minor can be subjective, and rust has a nasty habit of hiding in places you can't easily see. On the bright side, the seller says it runs and drives great, which is crucial. There's nothing worse than a pretty classic that won't start or drive properly. The fact that the current owner has enjoyed it for over 15 years is a good sign. It suggests the car has been cared for and hasn't been sitting neglected in a barn somewhere. The $14,000 asking price seems fair for a running, driving original '64 Impala in good condition, especially considering the current classic car market. However, as always, you'll want to see this beauty in person, check out that rust situation, and maybe even get a professional inspection before pulling the trigger. This Impala could be perfect for someone looking for a classic cruiser that's ready to hit the road. It's got that unmistakable 60s style, a V8 under the hood, and a history that includes an elderly lady owner, often a good sign for a well-maintained classic. Remember, cars like this are more than just transportation. They're time machines that take us back to a different era. If you're in the market for a slice of 1960s Americana that you can drive and enjoy right away, this '64 Impala deserves a serious look. Just be prepared to give it the love and care that any 57-year-old car needs to keep cruising for years to come. 12. Let's talk about this 1969 Buick Electra 225 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $7,900. This big, beautiful boat of a car is a prime example of late 60s American luxury, and it's got a story to tell. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. This Electra's got 101,000 miles on the clock. But don't let that scare you off. These old Buicks were built to last, and with proper care they can keep cruising for miles and miles. Now, the seller's been pretty upfront about the car's condition, which I appreciate. They've mentioned it's had an older repaint, so it's not factory fresh, but it still looks good. There's some surface rust showing by the rear window, which is something to keep an eye on. Rust can be tricky, so you'll want to check that out in person. On the bright side, this Electra's got a lot going for it. It's loaded with power options. We're talking power windows and power seats, which were pretty fancy for 1969. It's also a factory AC car, though the compressor is missing. That could be an easy fix if you want to get the cool air flowing again. The sellers put some work into this land yacht recently. They've done a complete brake service, transmission service, and some engine work including new plugs, wires, and a remanufactured Rochester carburetor. That's all good news for reliability. One of the coolest things about this Electra is that it comes with new tires, and the sellers even got white walls on order. Nothing says classic American luxury like a set of fresh white walls. At $7,900, this Electra 225 could be a great entry point into the world of classic luxury cars. It's not a perfect show-quality car, but it sounds like a solid driver that you could enjoy right away and gradually improve over time. Remember, with any classic car, especially one this size, you're looking at some thirsty fuel consumption. But hey, that's part of the charm, right? You don't buy a '69 Electra 225 for its gas mileage. You buy it for its smooth ride, its presence on the road, and the way it makes you feel like $1 million behind the wheel. So, if you're in the market for a piece of automotive history that you can actually drive and enjoy, this Buick Electra 225 deserves a serious look. It's got character, it's got style, and with a little TLC, It could be your ticket to cruising in true 60s luxury. Just be prepared for some curious looks and thumbs up from fellow motorists. Driving a car like this is an event in itself. 13. Let's dive into this 1957 Ford Ranchero that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $14,500. This isn't your average 57 Ranchero. It's a running driving project that's got some serious potential. First off, let's talk about what makes this Ranchero special. It's rocking a 302 small block Ford engine swap from an '89 Lincoln MKVO, complete with electronic fuel injection. That's a significant upgrade from the original power plant, offering more power and better reliability. Paired with a rebuilt AOD transmission and a low-car nostalgia shifter, this powertrain combo should make for a smooth, enjoyable drive. The seller's been upfront about the car's condition, which I appreciate. They're calling it a running, driving, unfinished project, and that's exactly what it is. The body's described as very straight, with a custom two-tone paint job in candy apple red and metallic charcoal gray. However, it's worth noting that the paint, while only 14 years old, is showing some wear with blistering on both sides at the roof drip rail. That's something you'll want to address if you're aiming for show quality. On the plus side, this Ranchero's got some great upgrades. We're talking 4-wheel power disc brakes, which is a huge improvement over the original drums. The black powder-coated steely wheels with early Ford hubcaps give it a classic look with a modern twist. And let's not forget the odometer cobalt gauges. Those will look great and give you accurate readings. Now, here's where you'll need to roll up your sleeves. The interior and bed need finishing. The vintage air system is partially installed, so you're on your way to modern comfort in a classic package. The seller mentions having some original parts not shown in the listing, including the grille, dash pieces, new door sill plates, stainless side trim, and cowl panel. That's a nice bonus for authenticity. At $14,500, this Ranchero isn't cheap, but it's not outrageous either, considering the work that's been done. You're getting a solid driver with some great upgrades, but be prepared to invest more time and money to really make it shine. This 57 Ranchero could be perfect for someone who wants a classic they can drive and enjoy right away, while continuing to improve it over time. It's got that iconic 50s style with some modern conveniences and performance upgrades. Just remember, you're buying a project, not a finished show car. So, if you're looking for a unique piece of Ford history that you can cruise in today and perfect tomorrow, this 57 Ranchero deserves a serious look. It's a cool blend of classic style and modern performance that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Just be ready to get your hands dirty, finishing what the current owner started. 14. We've got an absolute gem from the 1970s, a 1978 Ford Thunderbird Diamond Jubilee Edition that's an automotive unicorn. This bad boy is rocking a 351 Cleveland V8 paired with an automatic transmission, making it an effortless highway cruiser. 0. But it's not just about the powertrain of this. Thunderbird is loaded with luxury features that were the epitome of 70s excess. We're talking full power everything. Seats, windows, locks, you name it. The air conditioning will keep you crispy cool while sailing down the road in plush shag carpeting that extends all the way to the trunk. Now, talk about an immersive vintage experience. The exterior is a vision in pastel beige with color-keyed accents and those iconic turbine wheels. 0. This was a $12,000 car back in '78 when the base Thunderbird was just $6,000. The seller is representing 37,000 original miles on this time capsule, which is just bonkers for a 45-year-old ride. Being aged, the title will show exempt, but hey-oh, that just adds to the character. And get this, only 564 Diamond Jubilee editions were produced according to the Marty report. You're practically looking at an automotive Halley's Comet here, folks. Now the asking price of $12,800 is no joke, but for the rarity, incredible preserved condition, and sheer 70s ambiance it provides, this could be a crown jewel for any vintage Ford collector or disco fan. 0, you'll be the envy of every parking lot. As always, I'm giving you the full, unvarnished truth here. If the description says it's in great shape, you know I'm not embellishing a thing. Let's celebrate these rolling pieces of automotive history together. 15. We're diving into a true classic, a 1970 Chevrolet Impala that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $9,250, and let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to resist. First things first, let's talk about the condition of this Impala. The seller mentions that it's in good shape, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. The body and engine are original, which is a huge plus for any classic car lover. It's clear that this vehicle has been well cared for and maintained over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 350 V8 engine that churns out 250 horsepower. Paired with an automatic transmission, this Impala is a smooth operator on the road. And get this, the engine is matching numbers, which means it's the original engine that came with the car. That's a rare find and adds to the overall value of this classic ride. The seller also mentions that the Impala has been repainted once in its original stock color. While some might prefer an untouched original paint job, a fresh coat of paint can do wonders for a car's appearance. Plus, the seller notes that the restoration work was minor, so you can trust that this Impala hasn't undergone any major overhauls. Now, let's talk about how you can enjoy this 1970 Chevrolet Impala. The seller says it runs fine and could be used as a daily driver. Imagine cruising down the street in this vintage beauty, turning heads wherever you go. It's a car that's sure to strike up conversations at every red light. But even if you don't plan on making it your everyday ride, this Impala would make a great addition to any classic car collection. Of course, there's always room for improvement with any classic car. The seller mentions that you can make it better if you want, but you can also just enjoy it as is. That's the beauty of owning a vintage ride. You can personalize it to your liking or keep it in its original glory. In conclusion, this 1970 Chevrolet Impala is a fantastic find on Craigslist. With its good condition, original body and engine, and minor restoration work, it's a car that's sure to impress. And at $9,250, it's a price that's hard to beat for a classic of this caliber. Whether you're looking for a daily driver or a showpiece for your collection, this Impala is definitely worth checking out. 16. We've got a real treat for you, a 1969 Dodge Monaco that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic beauty is priced at $10,900, and let me tell you, it's a rare find that's sure to get your engine revving. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Monaco. The seller mentions that it's a very solid California car, which is a huge plus. California cars are known for being well preserved due to the state's favorable climate, so you can expect this Monaco to be in good shape overall. Now, let's dive into the specs. This Monaco is an H-code 383 high-performance car, which means it's packing some serious power under the hood. The original numbers-matching motor and transmission are still intact, and the seller has even rebuilt the 383 with a bunch of new parts, including a new Edelbrock manifold and a Holley 750 carb. That's music to any car enthusiast's ears. The seller has also taken care of some important maintenance items, like new tie rods, rear shocks, master cylinder, battery, power steering pump, and radiator. They even added electronic ignition for improved performance and reliability. It's clear that this Monaco has been well cared for and is ready to hit the road. Now, let's talk about the interior. The seller mentions that it will need a restoration, including the headliner. However, they do have a replacement dash pad that's in better condition than the original. They also have an extra instrument panel and switches, which is great news if you're planning on doing some interior work. One thing to note is that the odometer is not working, but that's not uncommon for a car of this age. The seller is upfront about it, which is a good sign of their honesty and transparency. The exterior of this Monaco is a beautiful yellow color, and while the tires and wheels pictured won't be included with the car, the seller does have the original steel wheels mounted on good tires with nice rally-style original hubcaps. That's a nice bonus. The seller emphasizes that these cars are very rare, and they're right. The Dodge Monaco is a true classic that's not easy to come by. The fact that this one has been rescued and is now looking for a new owner who will preserve or restore it is a great opportunity for any serious collector or enthusiast. Overall, this 1969 Dodge Monaco is a fantastic find on Craigslist. With its solid condition, high-performance specs, and rare status, it's a car that's sure to turn heads and get your heart racing. If you're a serious buyer who appreciates classic American muscle, this Monaco is definitely worth checking out. Just be sure to follow the seller's instructions and reach out with a phone number to show that you're a legitimate buyer. 17. We're diving into a 1967 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this pony is ready to gallop into your garage. The seller is asking $14,500 or best offer. And trust me, this beauty is worth every penny. First things first, let's talk about the condition of this Mustang. The seller describes it as excellent, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. The paint job is absolutely stunning. It's a custom color that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And the interior? Just as impressive. It's clear that this Mustang has been well cared for and restored with a keen eye for detail. Now, let's get to the good stuff, the mechanics. This Mustang is rocking a Ford narrowed 9-inch Alston rear on a tubular subframe, which is a serious upgrade from the stock setup. The rear suspension is a triangulated 4-link system with coilovers, giving you the perfect balance of comfort and performance. And check out those rear wheel wells. They've been flared to accommodate some beefy tires, and the mini tubs give you plenty of room to stuff them in there. But wait, there's more. The seller is including a bunch of goodies with the car. You'll get a 300-body 1W engine block, ready to be built to your specifications. There's also a brand new AFR 205 Renegade heads, a new Comp Cams roller cam with lifters, a new fluid damper oil pump, and a 7-quart Moroso oil pan. Oh, and did I mention the T5 manual transmission? This Mustang is begging to be driven hard and put through its paces. If you're looking to take this Mustang to the next level, the seller has you covered there too. They're offering a Vortec supercharger setup or a new twin-turbo setup, along with a new boost-ready Holley Sniper. These upgrades are negotiable, but if you're serious about making this Mustang a true beast, they're definitely worth considering. And if you want the seller to do the build for you, they're willing to do that too, for an extra cost. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds too good to be true. But rest assured, the seller seems completely sincere and transparent in their description. They're not trying to hide anything or pull a fast one on potential buyers. They're just looking for someone who will appreciate this Mustang for the incredible machine that it is. In conclusion, this 1967 Ford Mustang is an absolute gem. With its excellent condition, stunning paint and interior, and impressive mechanical upgrades, it's a car that any Mustang enthusiast would be proud to own. And at $14,500 or best offer, it's a price that's hard to beat for a classic pony car of this caliber. If you're serious about making this Mustang yours, just remember, the seller won't take offers by text. Give them a call or shoot them an email, and get ready to saddle up and ride off into the sunset with this incredible piece of American muscle car history. 18. We've got a real treat for you, a 1967 Ford Galaxy 500 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at just $6,000, and let me tell you, it's a steal for a car with this much character and power under the hood. First things first, let's talk about the condition of this Galaxy. The seller describes it as good, and from what I can see, it looks like a solid, well-maintained classic. The odometer reads just 76,000 miles, which is pretty low for a car of this age. That's a testament to how well this Galaxy has been cared for over the years. Now let's get to the heart of this beast, the engine. This Galaxy is packing a 390 cubic inch V8, which was a serious power plant back in the day. The seller describes it as a beast, and I have no doubt that it lives up to that name. They also mention that the car runs, drives, and stops awesome, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a classic like this. One of the standout features of this Galaxy is its rare amber color. It's a shade that you don't see too often, and it really makes this car stand out from the crowd. The seller does mention that there's a small crunch on the passenger side, but they also note that it's been there as long as they've had the car. In my opinion, a little bit of character like that just adds to the charm of a classic ride. The seller also mentions that this Galaxy is as original as they come, which is music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. Original cars are getting harder and harder to find these days, so it's always exciting to come across one that's been so well preserved. The seller promises to add pics of the interior soon, but they describe it as immaculate. So I have high hopes for what we'll see. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but what about that crunch on the passenger side? And I get it, nobody wants to buy a car with damage. But here's the thing, the seller is being completely upfront and honest about it. They're not trying to hide anything or pretend like the car is perfect. In my book, that kind of transparency is a good sign. It shows that the seller is a straight shooter who just wants to find a good home for their beloved Galaxy. So, what's the bottom line here? If you're in the market for a classic American muscle car with a ton of character and a beast of an engine under the hood, this 1967 Ford Galaxy 500 is definitely worth checking out. At just $6,000, it's a bargain for a car of this caliber. And with its rare color, low mileage, and original condition, it's a car that's sure to turn heads and get plenty of attention wherever you go. If you're interested, my advice would be to reach out to the seller and ask for those interior pics. If the inside of this Galaxy is as immaculate as they say, then you might just have a real gem on your hands. And even if it needs a little bit of TLC, the bones of this car are solid, and it's got the power and the style to make it well worth the investment. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1981 Chevrolet Corvette that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic American sports car is priced at $10,000, and let me tell you, it's a fantastic deal for a vet in this condition. First things first, let's talk about the overall state of this Corvette. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, and based on the information provided, I'm inclined to agree. With just under 135,000 miles on the odometer, this Corvette has clearly been well maintained and cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find the original 350 cubic inch V8 engine, which is paired with the original automatic transmission. The seller mentions that they had a new MagnaFlow exhaust system installed last year, so you can bet this Vetta sounds as good as it looks. Speaking of looks, let's talk about that stunning red paint job. The seller notes that the original single-stage paint had started to fade, so they had the entire car repainted in the original red color, but with the addition of a clear coat to help protect it from future fading. The result is a deep, rich red that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Moving on to the interior, the seller mentions that it's mostly original, with the exception of the stereo, which was upgraded to a single DN unit by a previous owner. They do note that the interior could use a little bit of love to really make it shine, but it sounds like it's in good overall condition. One thing to note is that the air conditioning system isn't currently working, but the seller believes it just needs to be retrofitted for R134A refrigerant. While that may be a bit of a project, it's definitely doable, and it's not uncommon for cars of this age to need an AC update. Overall, this 1981 Chevrolet Corvette seems like a fantastic find for any enthusiast looking for a classic American sports car. With its excellent condition, original engine and transmission, and stunning red paint job, it's a car that's sure to bring a smile to your face every time you get behind the wheel. Plus, at just $10,000, it's a bargain for a Corvette in this condition. These cars are becoming increasingly sought after by collectors and enthusiasts alike, and finding one that's been so well maintained and cared for is getting harder and harder. If you're interested in making this Corvette yours, I'd recommend reaching out to the seller as soon as possible. Cars like this don't come along every day, and I have a feeling it won't be on the market for long, and if you do end up bringing this beauty home, be sure to let us know. We always love seeing classic cars like this get a new lease on life, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on one of our upcoming videos. So what are you waiting for? If you've been dreaming of owning a classic Corvette, this 1981 model might just be the one you've been waiting for. Don't let it slip away. Reach out to the seller today and make it yours. 20. We've got a real treat for you. A 1975 Chevrolet Nova that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at just $7,500, and let me tell you, it's a whole lot of car for the money. First things first, let's talk about the heart of this Nova, the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 cubic inch V8 that was rebuilt just 25,000 miles ago by the previous owners. That means this engine is just getting broken in and has plenty of life left in it. The seller notes that it's solid and runs great, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a classic muscle car. But the engine isn't the only thing that's been given some love on this Nova. The transmission, a TH350 automatic, was also rebuilt professionally at 50,000 miles. So you can rest assured that this car is going to shift smoothly and reliably, no matter where you're headed. Now let's talk about the rest of the car. The seller mentions that the tires are good, the brakes are good, and the electrical system is in good shape. They also note that all the fluids have been recently changed, which is a great sign that this car has been well maintained. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it was reupholstered about 6 years ago. That means you'll be riding in comfort and style, with fresh upholstery that looks great and feels even better. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the exterior. The seller notes that the car is currently in primer, which means it's not going to win any beauty contests right now. But here's the thing, primer is a blank canvas. It means you can paint this Nova any color you want and really make it your own. Plus, the seller mentions that the car has some patina, which is just a fancy way of saying it's got some character. And in my book, character is always a good thing when it comes to classic cars. So, what's the bottom line here? If you're looking for a solid, well-maintained classic muscle car with plenty of potential, this 1975 Chevrolet Nova is definitely worth checking out. With its rebuilt engine and transmission, good tires and brakes, and fresh interior, it's a car that's ready to hit the road and turn some heads. And at just $7,500, it's a bargain for a car with this much history and character. Sure, it might need a little bit of work on the exterior, but that's part of the fun of owning a classic car. You get to make it your own, and really put your stamp on it. If you're interested in making this Nova yours, my advice would be to reach out to the seller and schedule a time to go check it out in person. Take it for a test drive, listen to that engine purr, and see how it feels behind the wheel. If it's as good as the seller says it is, and I have no reason to doubt them, then you might just have found your new favorite ride.